Now, related, I think, to what we heard from Matthew, this is reading from Ezekiel. But rather than the reading from Ezekiel is challenging. It's challenging not only in what Ezekiel is trying to tell us, it's also challenging in how he says it. Because he addresses not just the shepherds, he also addresses the sheep. And I think we need to hear it wherever we think we are in this whole deal. We need to be able to clarify who it is and where we are. So I'm going to start out with this where God speaks to the shepherds. And we'll take a break and talk about that in a minute, and we'll go on to the next parts. Okay? So Ezekiel 34. The word of the Lord came to me, mortal, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say to them, to the shepherds, thus says the Lord God, ah, you shepherds of Israel, who have been feeding yourselves. Should not shepherds feed the sheep? You eat the fat, you clothe yourselves with the wool, you slaughter the fatlings, but you do not feed the sheep. You have not strengthened the weak, you have not healed the sick, you have not bound up the injured, you have not bought back the strayed, you have not sought the lost, but with force and harshness you have ruled them. So they were scattered, because there was no shepherd. And scattered they became food for the wild animals. My sheep were scattered. They wandered all over the mountains and on every high hill. My sheep were scattered over all the face of the earth, with no one to search or seek for them. Now, if you had some idea that you could become a shepherd, this ought to give you pause. God notices when shepherds abdicate their power, their control, their authority. When they have this opportunity to care for their sheep and they let it slip, God takes notice. When shepherds don't do their job, God notices. Now, a shepherd's job is simple. You care for the sheep. You protect them. You provide for them. You make sure they have what they need. You make sure they're safe from harm. You take care of the sheep. A shepherd's job is simple, but it's not easy. A shepherd has to corral sheep. A shepherd has to ward off dangerous predators. A shepherd has to make sure the sheep are where they are supposed to be and have what they need when they're there. A shepherd's job is simple, but it's not easy. Of course, Ezekiel is not really talking about just people who want the job of shepherds, right? Shepherding was a common metaphor, even well before Ezekiel, of talking about leaders, of kings as shepherds. People who were in leadership positions over other people were known then even to be shepherds. It was the metaphor used for them. And God's not pleased with Israel's shepherds, with their kings, with how they have led, ruled their people. It has gotten God's goat that they have not led their people well. Of course, God wasn't surprised. When the people of Israel didn't have a king, and they wanted a king because everybody else had a king, listen to this, parents. With Christmas on its way, and presents that might not quite be appropriate for children. When Israel said, we want a king, God said, no. You don't need a king. You already have a king. But gee, God, Syria has a king. Babylon has a king. Egypt has a king. Everybody has a king. God said no. But eventually, brats can be annoying. And God said, okay, you want a king, you can have a king. But I'm going to tell you, kings are not good. The best king that Israel had, right? The best king, the one all the other kings are supposed to be modeled on, was good old David. Sweet little David, shepherd boy, slingshot, grew up, became the king, and on his highly exalted perch looked out and saw a pretty girl. And he had to have her. Because he was king, he could. Never mind that she had a husband. Never mind that it meant him trying to do a conspiracy to get that man killed and cover up his abuse of power. That's the best king they got. Kings, leaders, people, shepherds, authority people sometimes lose sight of what they're up to. Sometimes they forget that they're in that position to serve rather than to be served. Sometimes they get to this place where they think people are there to serve them rather than they are there to serve others by leading. Even good old David got to that place. We've seen other rascals occasionally do that, right? Politicians from every party, in every era, have gotten to that place where they've forgotten that their role was to serve and started to think they were to be served. Leaders of corporations, sports figures, the supermarket head of poultry, whatever level in the world, people get to a place where they begin to abuse their power and forget that their job is to serve rather than to be served. It's a simple role. Provide, protect, care. And somehow we get it wrong. God's tired of it. So God sends this prophet. And when God tells a prophet, prophesy against his people, God is fed up. God was fed up with those shepherds. So Ezekiel was told, say this. They've neglected to do what is the job of a shepherd. They've neglected to care for their people. And God was upset. So God decides to take it on himself. I myself will search for my sheep and will seek them out. As shepherds seek out their flocks when they are among the scattered sheep, so I will seek out my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places to which they have been scattered on a day of clouds and thick darkness. I will bring them out from the peoples and gather them from the countries and will bring them into their own land. I will feed them on the mountains of Israel, by the watercourses, and in all the inhabited parts of the land. I will feed them with good pasture. And the mountain heights of Israel shall be their pasture. There they shall lie down in good grazing land, and they shall feed on rich pasture on the mountains of Israel. I myself will be the shepherd of my sheep. And I will make them lie down, says the Lord. I will seek the lost, and I will bring back the strayed, and I will bind up the injured, and I will strengthen the weak, the fat and the strong I will destroy. I will feed them with justice. These are the words of the Good Shepherd. And in case we're too tired to catch that reference, let me make it real plain for you. There was a man named Jesus who said, I am the Good Shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. That very word Ezekiel uses. The wolf scatters the sheep. The hired hand runs away because the hired hand does not care for this sheep. I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd knows his sheep. He cares for his sheep. He knows them by name. He knows their needs. He knows what they deserve. The Good Shepherd is the type that if he has 100 sheep and 99 are cared for, but one is lost, he leaves the 99 and goes to find that one, even though it's dangerous, even though it's risky. He goes to find that one and brings that one sheep home. When the shepherd is king, that one lost sheep gets returned. When the Good Shepherd is king, the hungry get fed. When the good shepherd is king, the thirsty get something to drink. When the good shepherd is king, the naked are clothed. When the good shepherd is king, the sick get visited. When the good shepherd is king, the prisoner gets visited. When the good shepherd is king, the stranger is welcomed. When the good shepherd is king, the sheep are cared for. And it's not just the powerful sheep. It's not just the influential sheep. It's not just the mighty sheep, the well sheep, the rich sheep that get cared for. It's the least sheep. It's the least in the kingdom that get cared for. That's the way this kingdom works. When Jesus says, when you cared for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you cared for me, he was talking about a kingdom like this. The Good Shepherd has set up this system, this way of being that means he wants other sheep involved in his care. He wants a sheep that has been brought back, rescued, to then be part of his sheep that go out to those who are still lost. He's worked out this system when he's brought back these sheep and he's fattened them up, he wants them to then go and use their fat little bodies to share their food with others. He's created this system when I have taken care of you sheep and I've given you what you need to eat and drink and wear, then you will take that and help me help those other sheep who don't have enough to eat and drink and wear. That's how this shepherd set things up. But too often these sheep that have been cared for fall into the bad shepherd's trap. Too often they get accustomed to being served. They've been served so well it starts to feel natural. They start to think this is the way things go. We were here to be served. He brought us in. He provided for us. We're to be served. The bishop said, no. I served you so that you can serve others. As for you, my flock, thus says the Lord God, I shall judge between sheep and sheep, between rams and goats. Is it not enough for you to feed on the good pasture, but you must tread down with your feet the rest of your pasture? When you drink of clear water, must you foul the rest with your feet? And must my sheep eat what you have trodden with your feet and drink what you have fouled with your feet? Therefore, thus says the Lord God to them, I myself will judge between the fat sheep and the lean sheep, because you pushed with flank and shoulder and butted at all the weak animals with your horns until you scattered them far and wide. I will save my flock, and they shall no longer be ravaged, and I will judge between sheep and sheep. The shepherd has words for those of us sheep who think we've been made to be comfortable. I brought you in, I've taken care of you, but with purpose. I've fattened you up, I've made you comfortable, but you're not just going to live simply a good, easy life. For those sheep who think, why would I take the time to walk around that pasture, around the already grazed part, when the easiest path is straight through it, no matter that that part hasn't been grazed yet? Why would I take the time to go around the water when I can walk right through the water? I've had enough to drink. What do I worry about those who haven't yet drank? Why recycle? There's enough in this world for me and my generation.